The book of Proverbs is a wonderful book. Proverbs is a metaphorical book. It's absolutely packed of word pictures of universal truths. Wisdom is anthropomorphized as a woman throughout Proverbs. Proverbs 31 provides a detailed metaphor of feminine wisdom in the context of a family and a community. The most frequently quoted section, verses 10 through 31, is a chiastic poem. The chapter discusses the woman, who is now known as the Proverbs 31 woman. The chapter begins with King Lemuel recounting advice given to him by his mother. Verses 10 through 31 provide an accurate description of the type of woman Lemuel should seek. Lemuel's mother also lets you know that she is incredibly rare. Proverbs 31:10. An excellent wife, who can find? For her worth is far above jewels. The Bible considers two things to be more valuable than rubies: the virtue of wisdom, Proverbs 3:15, and a woman of noble character. A woman who is more valuable than rubies is one who possesses rare and valuable godly characteristics. The question, a wife of noble character who can find, indicates that the reader will have to look long and hard for such a wife. Lemuel's mother is denoting that this is the rarest woman you would find. What makes her say this? Proverbs 31 goes into great detail describing the attributes of a wife who is more precious than rubies, the kind of woman the wise young man should seek. Proverbs 31:11. The heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. Her husband's heart was safely clothed in her trust. The husband of such a wife goes about his daily business, confident in her. He does not feel that going after spoils will lead to a happy home. Proverbs 31:12. She will do him good and not evil all the days of her life. Every day of her life, in good times and bad, in the early spring season of young love and in the waning years of declining age, her love, founded on good principles, is unchangeable. Proverbs 31:13. She seeketh wool and flax and worketh willingly with her hands. She is concerned with these items because they are used for clothing and household purposes. Wool has been used for clothing since the beginning of time, and flax was widely cultivated for the production of linen, with the processes of drying, peeling, hackling, and spinning well understood. Leviticus 13:47. The garment also that the plague of leprosy is in, whether it be a woolen garment or a linen garment. Job 31:20. If his loins have not blessed me, and if I were not warmed with the fleece of my sheep. What is meant is that she not only labors diligently herself, but also finds pleasure in doing so. And this is not because she has no one to help her and is forced to do the work on her own. On the contrary, she is depicted as wealthy and the head of a large household, but because she believes that labor is a duty for all and that idleness is a violation of a universal law. Proverbs 31:14. She is like the merchant's ships, she bringeth her food from afar. She is like the merchant's ships. She is like them in that she extends her operations beyond her own immediate neighborhood, and bringeth her food from afar, buying in the best markets and on advantageous terms, without regard to distance, and being always on the lookout to make honest profit. 1 Kings 9:26. And King Zion made a navy of ships in Ezion-Geber, which is beside Elath, on the shore of the Red Sea, in the land of Edom. 1 Kings 22:48. Jehoshaphat made ships of Tarshish to go to Ophir for gold, but they went not, for the ships were broken at Ezion-Geber. Proverbs 31:15. She riseth also while it is yet night, and giveth meat to her household, and a portion to her maidens. In Eastern homes, a lamp is always kept burning at night, and because it is so small, the careful housewife must rise at midnight to replenish the oil, and she often begins her household work by grinding the corn or preparing something for the next day's meal. Lemuel's mother testifies to her hard work with nurturing her family. Early rising before any major undertaking is repeatedly mentioned in the Bible, as seen in Genesis 19:2. And he said, Behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early and go on your ways. And they said, Nay, but we will abide in the street all night. Genesis 22:3. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and saddled his ass, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up, and went unto the place of which God had told him. Psalm 57:8. Awake up, my glory, awake, psaltery and harp. I myself will awake early. Jeremiah 7:13. And now because ye have done all these works, saith the Lord, and I spake unto you, rising up early and speaking, but ye heard not, and I called you, but ye answered not. And giveth meat to her household. The word for meat is teref, which means food torn in pieces with the teeth, Psalm 111:5, and thus food to eat. As a result, the wife prepares or distributes the food that will be needed for the day ahead of time. The quality of food we eat affects our energy. Therefore, she had the responsibility of the quality of life of those close to her. Proverbs 31:16. She considereth a field, and buyeth it. With the fruit of her hands she planteth a vineyard. She focuses her attention on a specific field, the possession of which is desirable for some reason, and she purchases it after careful examination and consideration. Christ's parable of the treasure in a hidden field, for which the finder sold everything he owned, comes to mind. Verse 16 also depicts an act of independence and proactiveness as she purchases assets with her own money. Matthew 13:44. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like unto treasure hid in a field, the which when a man hath found, he hiddeth, and for joy thereof goeth and selleth all that he hath, and buyeth that field. Her prudent management and economy enables her to purchase vines and plant a vineyard, increasing her output. It's possible that she sees the field she's been given as better suited for grapes than corn and cultivates it accordingly. Proverbs 31:17. She girdeth her loins with strength and strengtheneth her arms. Strength and vigor are, in a sense, the girdle she wears around her waist to allow her to carry out her operations with case and freedom. So we have a similar metaphor boldly applied to God. Psalm 93, verse 1. The Lord reigneth, he is apparelled with majesty. The Lord is apparelled, he hath girded himself with strength. Proverbs 31:18. She perceiveth that her merchandise is good, her candle goeth not out by night. Her prudence and economy leave her a large surplus profit, which she contemplates with satisfaction. There is no suspicion of arrogance or conceit. The pleasure derived from duty done and business successfully conducted is legitimate and healthy, a providential reward for good works. She tastes that it is good to work. This sense of comfort and success propels her to greater and more consistent effort. Her candle, lamp, never goes out at night. Even when night falls and outdoor activities are halted, she finds work for the hours of darkness, as mentioned in the following verse. Some interpret the lamp in this context as an allegory for life, happiness, and prosperity, as in Proverbs 13:9 and Proverbs 20:20. Others interpret it as a shining example of diligence and piety, Matthew 5:16. However, the simple meaning appears to be the one intended. Proverbs 31:19. She layeth her hands to the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff. The distaff is the staff to which the flax bunch is tied, and from which the thread is drawn by the spinning wheel. She applies her hand to this, deftly spinning her flax into thread. Her hands are clutching the distaff. The spindle, pelek, is the cylindrical wood, later the wheel, on which the thread winds itself as it spun. Proverbs 31:20. She stretcheth out her hand to the poor, yea, she reacheth forth her hands to the needy. She is not motivated by selfish greed to improve her circumstances and increase her earnings. She is sympathetic and charitable, and she enjoys sharing the blessing that have come her way. She stretcheth out her hand to the poor. Hand here is kaf, the palm, evidently containing alms. She is aware of the proverb, Proverbs 19:17. He that hath pity upon the poor lendeth unto the Lord, etc. And she has no fear of poverty. Yea, she reacheth forth her hands to the needy. Hand here is yod, and the idea is that she extends her hand to raise and soothe the poor man, not content with giving alms to him, but exercising the gentle ministries of tender love. She, like Dorcas, is full of good deeds and alms deeds. Acts 9:36. Now there was at Joppa a certain disciple named Tabitha, which by interpretation is called Dorcas. This woman was full of good works and alms deeds which she did. It is almost certainly implied that the prosperity she enjoys is the result of her benevolence. Proverbs 22:9. Proverbs 31:21. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. Snow covers the streets of Jerusalem 2 winters and 3, but it generally comes in small quantities and soon disappears. She has no fears concerning the comfort and health of her family, even in the severest winter. For all her household are clothed with scarlet, with warm garments. The word used is shanim, derived from a verb meaning to shine, and denoting a crimson or deep scarlet color. This color was thought to absorb and retain heat, while white was thought to repel it. Because the garments were made of wool, they would be warm as well as stately in appearance. The Proverbs 31 woman was prepared for her family's upcoming winter periods, and as a result, her family was safe during such times. She is therefore not startled by the seasons. This can also be looked at as planning for uncertain times. Winter times could be seen as a time of hardship, yet her foresight protected her family. Proverbs 31:22. She maketh herself coverings of tapestry. Her clothing is silk and purple. Purple garments were brought from the Phoenician cities and held great value. The wife dresses appropriately for her position. For my own part, says Saint Francois de Sales, quoted by Lester, I should wish any devout man or woman always to be the best dressed person in the company, but at the same time, the least fine and affected and adorned, as it is said, with the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit. Proverbs 31:23. Her husband is known in the gates, when he sitteth among the elders of the land. Proverbs 31:24. She maketh fine linen and selleth it, and delivereth girdles unto the merchant. Girdles were required items of clothing when wearing the flowing robes of Eastern dress. The common kind was made of leather, as is the case today, but a more expensive article was made of linen that had been strangely worked in gold and silver thread and studded with jewels and gold. 2 Samuel 18:11. And Joab said unto the man that told him, And behold, thou sawest him, and why didst thou not smite him there to the ground? And I would have given thee 10 shekels of silver and a girdle. This shows that she is not only valuable to those in her family, but she is valuable to others and creates things of value to the economy. Proverbs 31:25. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. She is endowed with a moral force and dignity that protects her from worry and care. The power of a righteous purpose and strong will manifests itself in her carriage and demeanor. Proverbs 31:26. She openeth her mouth with wisdom, and her tongue is the law of kindness. She counsels her family with wise words. When she speaks, she does not utter gossip, slander, or idle talk, but rather sentences of prudence and sound sense, which may minister grace to her hearers. She is responsible for teaching and directing her dependents, and she does so with gracious kindness and ready sympathy. Proverbs 31:27. She looketh well to the ways of her household, and eateth not the bread of idleness. She exercises careful surveillance over all that goes on in the family, eateth not the bread of idleness, but rather the bread of active labor and conscientious diligence. She agrees with the apostle who spoke these words, that if any would not work, neither should he eat. 2 Thessalonians 3:10. Proverbs 31:28. Her children arise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praiseth her. It is easy to act kind to those who do not know you, but she got the highest praise from those who know her well. Her children arise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praiseth her, in the words given in the next verse. Her mercy rises up her children, and they grow rich, and her husband praises her. Proverbs 31:29-30. Many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellest them all. Favor is deceitful, and beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Chen, favor, may signify either the goodwill with which one is regarded, or gracefulness, beauty. As being in close parallelism with the next words, it is best taken as referring to loveliness of form. This is also the conclusion of Ecclesiastes 12:13. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. Proverbs 31:31. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. The first qualities mentioned are dependability and devotion. A virtuous wife is a benefit to her husband rather than a liability. Like the wise woman of Proverbs 14:1, she works hard to build up her home. She is not like the foolish one who tears it down with her own hands. A woman who is more precious than rubies is also intelligent and capable. She considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings she plants a vineyard. Proverbs 31:16. She is strong and energetic, with a healthy work ethic. Proverbs 31:17. She has good business sense. Her trading is profitable, and she increases her family's wealth. Proverbs 31:17-18 and 24. The description that her lamp does not go out at night in verse 18 implies that she has the foresight to plan for the future. In the parable of the 10 virgins, the 5 whose lamps did not go out had thought ahead to buy oil and were praised for their prudence and forethought. Matthew 25:1-13. Ruth is an excellent example of a Bible woman who was more valuable than rubies. Boaz referred to her as a virtuous woman. Ruth 3:11. She was devoted and faithful. She worked hard and took the initiative, and she was praised in the gates, just like the Proverbs 31 woman. Ruth 2:2. Another characteristic of wisdom is the grace to help others. The Proverbs 31 wife ensures that those under her care receive what they need: food, clothing, and protection. She understands how to use her skills to provide for her family, and she isn't afraid to enter that world, whether as a merchant or a buyer. She understands how to best utilize her strengths, and she is fully aware of the value of her efforts. The Proverbs 31 woman understands not only her worth, but also her responsibilities to herself. She would be unable to provide for others if she neglected her own physical and spiritual needs. She ensures that her appearance reflects her respected status in her community. Her greatest strength is her godliness. In closing, she is known as a blessing from God.